Brian Campbell is a widely published poet for whom lyrical power and beauty are of great importance. While his songwriting influences include such English language stars as Paul Simon and Bob Dylan, he is also uniquely influenced by artists of the 70s and 80s. Latin American Nueva Canción or New Song movement, including Victor Jara and Pablo Milanes. He has just produced a 26-minute album called On This Shore. With us today, we have Brian Campbell. Hi, Brian, and welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
First, please introduce yourself and tell us how you came to be such a prolific poet and musician.
Well, as you say, I'm a poet and songwriter, and there's quite a variety of influences that make for a long story in itself. As for being prolific, well, I don't write every day. I have long spaces in my life where the best I can say is I'm just gestating. But then I have my moments where my mind seems to be on fire and I put things together very rapidly. So there you are. I've done 3 full-length collections of poems, a couple of chapbooks, a book of my photographs with poetry, a couple of albums of songs, and a couple of albums more in singles, and a lot more to come, actually.
What inspired you to write this album On This Shore?
Well, after a long hiatus where I was focusing more on poetry than music, about 5 years ago, I came upon the Mariposa Cafe here in Montreal. I discovered a welcoming musical community here, and people encouraged me to record my songs. And after trying and only doing so-so at home recordings, I found an arranger in a professional studio about 10 minutes from where I live. I recorded a few singles with him, and then I had this idea of making an album, but I had some difficulty choosing which songs to include. When you've written about 70, it is hard to do. I learned about how EPs are making a comeback, and it seemed like a nice sort of bite-sized project I could complete quickly and a way to explore this relationship with his arranger, and we get along quite well. So, a vision kind of came with these particular songs. Some are very recent, and some of them are written like decades ago. But they seem to get together like it's a beach album.
Mm-hmm.
All the songs reference the sea or the ocean in some way, except one, and that one song, which is about a steamy romantic night, could easily belong there. It had a sort of unity, even in terms of values and the kinds of poems it draws on and so on. So that's why I did it.
What interests do you have other than music? How does this influence your music?
There are 3 main areas of interest I can pinpoint. One is poetry and literature, that's obvious. A lot of songs are poems adapted to music. Two of the songs on the shore are poems put to music. And I have a poem that I read out on the album as well. Politics is big for me. I follow the news quite closely. While I'm not a huge activist, causes like halting climate destruction and social justice inform my songs, including the second one we plan to play today. And a third one, I would say, is Buddhism. I've been practicing Nichiren Buddhism for some 25 years. I'd say the relationship there is more implicit. Buddhism is about using a meditative practice to find appreciation, affirmation, and positive energy. The song we'll soon play, Surprise, is about the joy of walking together in spring and the very joy of being alive.
May we hear some of your music?
Yeah, absolutely. As I suggest, a surprise, eh?
This is Surprise on the Wednesday morning after.
Walking alone, sunlight on our skin, blue sky in our eyes, hand enlaced in hand, other couples walking by. You can tell by the light in their eyes. Bird in the blue, tilting on a tree. So say hello to the breeze. Spring has come and winter's gloom is gone. There's a shadow running through the grass, disappears into the sunlight as we will disappear by the light of the moon. Orange and butter yellow, swirling pastels in a starlit cafe. Pass on through the light, pass on through the light. And surprise that we're alive. The bird, the breeze, the leaves, the waving sea. Afternoons of light, afternoons of light. La 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 la.
What do you plan to do to celebrate the release of On This Shore?
Well, to be honest, the launch for On This Shore was scheduled for April 2020. Of course, the pandemic hit about like 2 weeks earlier, so everything had to be postponed indefinitely for that. And it's a chill out EP. It's romantic in nature. It's set on the ocean. I didn't feel it had much resonance with this public health crisis, where people couldn't even board an airplane. But now with the vaccination rollout, there's finally, as everybody's saying, light at the end of the tunnel. I've used the time during the pandemic to develop a beautiful website, record a lot of singles too, but getting on folk radio, online stuff like Spotify, and promotions now that we're back on track and there is some light at the end of the tunnel. Well, locally, on June 30th to July 6th, there will be a show at Galerie Espace on Boulevard Saint-Laurent. That was one that was reserved like 3 years ago, but again, postponed due to the pandemic. But it's going to be up June 30th to July 6th, and it'll be my photos and Charles Chenier's drawings and paintings. We're sharing the gallery. He's a fantastic harmonica player, as you know. You've played him on your show, and we'll certainly be jamming and playing songs, including some of the ones on the album, in front of the gallery. He's not on the album, but he certainly can play almost any kind of modality, So August 7th, I'm playing a live show at the Terrace at Mariposa Cafe between 6:30 and 8:30. And I may do more Facebook live stream things. I participate regularly in Zoom readings like the Argo Zoom series. I'll be doing that on August 5th too. But I'm looking forward, of course, to live performances.
Your second song choice is Shadows on Our Joy. What is the story behind this song?
Well, it was written recently. It was written in 2018, and it reflects on a trip my wife and I made to Dominican Republic. It was my first and only all-inclusive vacation I've ever had. And as beautiful as the place was, realities that were happening at the time of the Trump administration, caging children on the Mexican border, the climate crisis, even the severe inequalities we found there were kind of like shadows on our joy. It's a bossa nova tune. It has the same chord progressions actually as Girl from Ipanema, by Hobin. And a lot of, it's a bit of an update on Quiet Nights and Quiet Stars. So that's, that's the story behind Shadows on Our Joy.
Maybe listen to some more of your music.
Sure.
This is Shadows on Our Joy on CKUT.
Here through the palm trees, ocean blows a salty breeze, gladiators hopping on the sand. Let's raise our glasses here, we'll not dwell on prospects drear, the sufferings all around us in this world. I have you and you have me, life, laughter and our tears. It's been a long hard road to the shore. So let's rest, enjoy the breeze whispering through the palm trees, and forget for now the shadows on our joy. Shadows on our joy. Shadows on our joy. Shadows on our joy. This world's in so much pain, don't know when it'll ever be sane. Babies torn from their mother's arms. The forests are dying, the oceans are crying. This whole planet's a fire alarm. But I have you and you have me, life, laughter and our tears. It's been a long hard road to the shore. So let's rest, enjoy the breeze whispering through the palm trees, and forget for now the shadows on our joy. 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 I'm afraid we'll never be happy till we wipe these shadows from our